had issues with women with short hair because they like, I don't want to have sex with, even though she's a woman, the short hair makes me think that it's a guy.
Right.
And so they
And if you think that's a guy, that's a whole nother talk
yeah,
show.
yeah, but
But
I'm
you
just
need to
saying
address.
that's
Right.
their mentality that goes along with why they can't deal with women who are bald headed
Right.
primarily. You know, it's just something about it that just doesn't register. No matter how wonderful the woman looks,
Right.
with being bald or a very low haircut, they just struggle with it.
They do.
You know, or either it's the case of there's something wrong with her from a health perspective, and no, it doesn't have to be that way. She just chose to be bald.
Well, and it's funny because a good friend of mine, her hair is not long, but it's sort of to her shoulders,
Right.
and she wants to get it shorter. White lady, and her daughters refuse to let her get it cut shorter because their perception of a woman with short hair is that she has to be a lesbian.
Yeah, that too.
And so her daughter, one night we were out, and she was like, Mary was like, well, I think I'm gonna cut my hair short. And she was like, Mom, don't cut your hair, because next thing you know, you'll be wearing flannel and work boots.
Yeah, yeah.
And she was like, well, how does cutting my hair shorter put me in flannel and work boots?
But that's a conscious decision, because since I cut my hair, I make sure I always have on earrings.
Right.
I always try to make sure I have on chapstick or lipstick, because I don't want anybody to,
Right.
well,
Right.
I'm not really sure.
Right.
But you think about the things of making sure that you display femininity
Mhm.
every time you go out, because you don't want anybody to question you.
Okay.
And that goes back to the.
So my nails are done. My hair is short,
Right.
but I make sure it's right. My mother argues, why don't you have on a hat? It's cold outside, because my hair is gonna get flat, and don't nobody have time for that.
Right.
So it'll be flat at the end of the day, not at the beginning of the day.
Yeah.
You know, okay. I mean, but you literally consciously think of those things as you get ready to go out the door, because somebody's gonna look at you and go, I don't know, I ain't sure.
Right.
She's playing both sides of the fence now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that goes back to that
Right.
part. But I think you have so many different options with the hairdress wraps and things of that nature now that people could, put that on and feel comfortable, feel beautiful, and don't really have to worry about that. It's more of you getting in touch with the eccentric side. I don't know if that's the right word, but getting in touch with more the eternal spirit of Mother Africa, and getting away from the European version for standard. Because if you think about it, it's really kind of funny how everything that we do, the Europeans don't like, and then they turn right back around and do it and rebrand it as something else.
Mm-hmm.
So just give it time. They'll cut their hair off too. And they done already stole the Halle Berry and all that other stuff over the years, so it's nothing new.
But even when I was in college, I was a TCOM major. I was going on television. I had a professor tell me, when you take your media pictures, make sure you do them in black and white so that people can't tell what you are. You're going to need to have longer hair so that you are acceptable to everybody when they turn on the television. And I told my mother that. She was like, no, it's not that way, it's not that way. And I came home that weekend, there was a lady on television doing the news. She was like, look, she's got cornrows. That's not true. I said, you're watching PBS. She said, no, I'm not. This is regular TV. I said, I'm telling you, she cannot be on 5, 9, 12 with cornrows. I'm telling you, you're watching PBS. And we waited till the show was over and said, you're watching PBS. I said, in the defense arrest, you may step down.
Yeah, you can't do that.
But that was it. And even a lot of people don't remember, we had an anchor here in Cincinnati, and she was perming her own hair. I was doing my internship at the time, and she didn't know to neutralize the chemical after she got finished. So over time, her hair broke off. She came to the studio that morning to let them know, I've gone to the hairdresser, they had to cut my hair off, it was damaged, there was nothing I can do, and her manager told her, you go on the air at 5 o'clock. By 4:30, you need to be back here with a wig. And every time you go and you represent our channel, you're gonna need to have that wig on so that nobody knows you've cut your hair off. That is the image that you had to portray. So the changes that they're doing now, it's not a lot. They're few and far between that you can catch a girl with crinkly hair, or you catch somebody who's weaving and you can kind of see it where it's fuller or not fuller. That's not an image that's acceptable, not to us, but to everybody else. You have to fit the mold for what people are willing to turn on their TV and look at. And if you're not going to fit that mold, they will not put you on the major networks.
Yeah, I think the only time that you're going to see that on major TV is if the woman is going through cancer treatments. That's the only
But
way.
still, they're wearing wigs.
Right, but I'm saying that there may be that one station who is willing to go against the mold and embrace what's going on with their anchor person, and then say, okay, we support her. This is her true natural state, and they may let her get away with it for a little while. They might even go through the whole course, but once she get healthy, she going back to a normal hairstyle.
Tamara Hall on Channel 5. She wears short hair.
Yeah, but she's not bald.
But she came to work natural. She hadn't straightened it. It wasn't curled. It was just wavy, her natural hair. She got so many complaints from people watching. She went back and she had to get her hair straighten it out so she could go back on the air because people weren't comfortable. How are you not comfortable with how somebody else looks? But that's what we've
And
allowed.
they focus more on her appearance than on what she was saying.
Right. And so because of that, she doesn't do the full natural. She is natural, but she straightens and curls and does everything she needs to do so it looks like her hair is permed when she goes on the air.
Yeah, that whole thing about hairstyles, I mean, it's intimidation from the standpoint of it doesn't fit the European concept. And so that's where we are. I mean, and that's who the powers that be that...
They've determined that.
Yeah, they determine all that. So
Just like locks or dreadlocks.
Yeah.
That's, if you want to work for a Fortune 500 company, unless you from South Africa, just off the plane, they're not going to allow you to.
Right.
You're going to change that.
Yeah,
Right.
you got to be in culture. You got to be culturally aware places or progressive places like an Amazon or a Google or a Microsoft where you can get away with those. But
Places where you're behind the scenes and people don't have to
Yeah.
actually see you.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, I mean,
That's what that is.
They embrace that diversity and that freedom. Not that all the other ones don't, but they're enriched in old methods as far as.
But they're hiring a younger workforce.
They are.
And that younger workforce is fighting against the grain of, we've always done it this way and you can't make me. This younger workforce is saying, I have what you need. You've hired me for this position. You're going to take me as I am. And so that's a new piece. So your younger companies are companies where you're behind the scenes. I worked for a health agency and we did customer service. So you had people on the phones, you had people answering letters, you were addressing disputes, but you didn't actually see the people. They really didn't care how we came to work, as long as you came to work.
Right.
But when you're talking about who's out front and who's meeting the people, those people didn't look like any of us.
Right. Right.
And so that's something you have to, that it depends on what you're doing and if you're being visible, if you're out front. It just depends. Even in with a lot of our military veterans, a lot of them have lived a life that they didn't want to live. The number that I see now that are transitioning,
Yes.
people didn't expect that.
Yeah,
And they were like, well, wow, so you never really wanted to be a guy, but we were drafting them and there was nothing in consideration to who you were or what you wanted to be. That was the piece. But think about it, when you went into the military, there were rules for your hair. If you were a woman, your hair could not touch your collar. So you either cut it off or put it up. And if you cut it off and you're in the military, surely you butch. Surely.
Right.
That was the assumption. But the only way to prove differently was to put it up in a bun. So you had all these women with the army hat on with a bun and a bun, or braids and a bun, but because it could not touch your collar, or you cut it blunt right at the collar. So those were things that the rest of the society didn't have to consider or think about, but they had to consider it every day, going to work, going out to the field, doing their job for the military.
And it still couldn't be natural. If you cut it short in a bob, it had to be permed. It had to be straight.
It had to fit under your hat.
Right.
So if you could stuff it all up under your hat,
Right.
but just know when you go to eat, you're taking that hat off. So if you take off that hat and that's not gonna work in your uniform.
Right.
So there were other things that people had to consider that the rest of society hasn't thought about yet.
Right, and if you think about it, when those people get out of the military, they still have that same mindset. They go into corporate America, carry
yeah.
that same concept. And so it plays both sides of the field. So yeah.
Well, in retail too. 'Cause I remember when I first started in retail, men couldn't wear earrings. You know, you had to be black pants, white shirt.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't have any creativity whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And slowly, it went to one earring was okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then, okay, maybe 2 earrings. As long as you performed well in your job,
Mm-hmm.
we might can let you have 2. Now you go into some of these retail positions and they have multiple piercings, tattoos. Even if you had a tattoo, it couldn't show. Hang on a second.
You couldn't show reading the manual and it starts talking about tattoos and piercings and it says your tattoos had to be covered. Okay, nobody told me that, that's fine. So I have a small tattoo on my ankle, so I came to work with a bandage over it. My supervisor said, well, what's wrong? I said, nothing. He said, why you got that bandage on? I said, because the handbook says no tattoos, so I have it covered. He said, well, what is it? I said, it's just a little bear. He said, take that off. Everybody's tatted. Then y'all need to change the manual. Because right now the manual says I got it covered, and if you fire me because it's not covered, it's going to be a problem. But it was just that simple. Everybody's tatted in the organization, but you haven't updated the rule book that says you got to cover it or not cover it. I said, all the men got on long sleeves. That ain't fair. So now you got the change of the acceptance of tattoos, but we're still struggling to overcome the acceptance of short hair or no hair. So when are we going to hit the balance? Your supervisor can have tattoos going all the way down their arm, but you can't have short hair because it's a problem. It's got to match. So if we're going to accept it one way, we've got to accept it both ways. And we haven't figured out how to create that balance yet.
Thank you.
You're welcome.